Hello and welcome to Tabletop Oddity. My name is Jay, and today I'm going to talk about chess clocks in Star Wars Legion. So for those of you who don't understand what a chess clock is, in the game of chess, obviously it's where this originates, time can be a bit of an issue. Games can drag on for eons and eons essentially, as one player spends a lot of his time thinking about what move to make, and it was essentially making chess boring. So they have a system, it's a simple clock that both players have a time, let's say 2 hours on their side, and when it's their move, the clock on their side will be ticking down, and once they're done, they'll press the button on their side, and then the time on your opponent will then start counting down. So they have speed chess, but they also have like more reasonable games of chess with higher time limits and stuff like that. So basically, I just want to talk about if this should be implemented in Star Wars Legion. But before I do, if you like the video at the end of the video, then do hit like. And if you're not already subscribed, then do consider doing that. It just rolls off the tongue now, doesn't it? It's getting easy. Yeah, so in Legion, why would we even have this, right? Why would this be a thing? And it's because in tournaments, essentially, sometimes the games do not finish. Maybe they'll finish at turn 4. I think I've seen a game go to turn 2. Which was an unusual circumstance, but a very extreme event, right? Most games, I think, finish maybe 4, 5, 6, or you concede, in which case they're already completely finished. If you make it to 6 at a tournament, great, you finish the whole game, fantastic. If you make it to 4 and 5, it can feel sometimes like, oh, if only this would have, if we only would have played this next turn, this and this would have happened, and I might have won, or maybe my opponent would have had a chance of getting back into the game. And the reason there's generally at tournaments, at events, there is a time limit anyway, but it's in a time limit for the whole game, so it's for you and your opponent. And let's say it's generally for Legion between 2 hours and 2.5 hours, and or some sort of combination of that. I think like LVO was maybe 2 hours and 15 minutes with 15 minutes. If you were in the last 15 minutes, you couldn't start a new round, something like that. And yeah, it's something that a lot of games deal with or have to deal with one way or another. Some games actually use chess clocks. I think like at proper events, I feel like Guild Ball might be an example where chess clocks are used. But stuff like 40k, I've never really seen them used in 40k, but maybe that actually has happened before. And you can't really use chess clocks in maybe like a game like X-Wing. A lot of time in X-Wing, the planning phase, for example, is both you and your opponent's time. You're both doing the same thing, you're both thinking about what move to make, and it perhaps wouldn't really work like that. Whereas Legion is actually a game where a chess clock might make some sense, right? Because it's an I go, you go, I go, you go thing, most of the time you're not really, when it's not you actively deciding what to do with your next move, you're not really doing much, but it's a very short window in which you're not doing much, unless your opponent has a big decision to move. So let's say you've got Vader and I've got Luke. I need to decide, am I going to move up to range this turn? Or am I going to go over here? And in which case, you might be thinking of your next turn, but you're not the reason that the game has stopped. It's me. I'm the one thinking about Luke, and it's my move. So in that case, it is a little bit like chess. Now, there are some points in the game where we are both deciding or doing something. Command cards would be an example of that. That's really about it. Maybe taking away the tokens at the end phase might be an example of that. My solution for that, by the way, would be to simply pause the clock. We would give everybody lower time, but we would pause the clock to do these things where we're both deciding. And if somebody was deliberately slow playing a command card, then you could call a judge if you really wanted to. So there's not that many times of that. Now, the argument against this would be, say, something like the dice, right? So in my Luke, it shoots at Vader. I roll my 2 red dice. I'm done. Do you know what I mean? I roll my dice. It's only your defense dice left. Do I press the button now? Or do I wait? I mean, I'm essentially done for my turn. I could press the button, and then you've got to roll your defense dice and then decide what you're doing. I would be in favor of me pressing the button as soon as my action for that turn was done. The downside to that would be in a situation, say like, let's say you've got a unit of stormtroopers, you've got a DLT in there, so you can split fire. I'm going to split fire against Vader. Well, in this case, I'll split fire against Luke, and then the other one I'll shoot later, right? Or something like that. So once I've done my Luke attack, I then have to wait for you to roll your defense dice. Now, it's not going to be a lot of time, but in theory, you could be like, just pick up my dice. How many, let me just check my card. What defense dice do I get? Oh, do I get anything interesting here? No, I don't really get anything interesting here. Am I in cover? No, I'm not in cover. Oh, do you know what I mean? You could, in theory, slow play rolling your defense dice, but I mean, if you really wanted to be picky, you could let people say, like, I've just rolled my defense my attack dice. I'll press my chess clock. You have to roll your defense dice. Once you finish that, you press it back and out, and then we'll go like that. You could do that, and you know, I would say that would be perfectly legit. So that's an immediate solution to that as a problem. And then obviously I would then roll my other attacks against Leia, and then once I'd done that, boom, press the button. And then we'd pause the clock when it was a joint effort, like we both have to clean away the table kind of thing. So what I would do in that situation, let's say a game you wanted it to be 2 hours and 30 minutes long, we would both maybe get 1 hour, something like that, and that would be set up time, clearing downtime for the rest. Why bother with chess clocks, right? Not just because you want to finish the game. I think it's actually, people think, oh, it's bad for beginners, right? And I don't necessarily agree that it's bad for beginners. I think when I play the game, I want to be able to think about my moves, but not at the expense of my opponent. Like, I want to be like, oh, what am I going to do next? Should I do this, this, and this? But in the back of my mind, I'm like, I'm actually using up time for the whole game, and I feel bad on my opponent. So I think I would feel like a little bit at ease once if it was just my time I was wasting. Now, what happens when there's so many things that you could discuss here, like what happens if the your time runs out? Well, then you can just roll your defense dice, and that's it. You know, basically, you count for objectives if you need them, but that would be it. You just roll your defense dice. And that's fine. I think that would be fine. The one main downside to this, as I said, I don't really think it's bad for beginners. I think beginners might find it a little bit more relaxed. Yes, they might have to play faster than they normally would, but at an event, they'd probably have to do that anyway. And personally, I would only put this in for premier events. If I was going to do anything, Legion has 3 stages events, and for the more serious ones, or maybe even the one down below from that, I would maybe do chess clocks. The downside to chess clocks is the expense. There's an additional cost that I don't know how much a chess clock is, right? I don't own one. I've got no plans on owning one, because when I do my back reps and stuff like that, I'm never going to whack out the chess clock because I'm filming it, and there's all kinds of extraneous variables there. But I don't know how expensive it would be for a premier event. Let's say with, let's say 128 people, you would need 64 chess clocks. How expensive is that? Probably, let's say, I don't know, 10 quid a pop minimum. Probably like 20, isn't it, really? But you know what I mean? You're looking at like 120 quid there, maybe, if it's 20 quid a pop. So, obviously, once a location has the chess clocks, or the people running it had the chess clocks, it would be less of an expense, but it's just something to bear in mind, the expense. I think all in all, for the most serious events, I'm actually strongly in favour of chess clocks. And I've always been sort of against them. But I just feel like they could work really well in Legion, and both make sure that the games are more likely to get finished, and take pressure off people in the fact that they don't have to worry about time in a sense of you're hurting your enemy. All you need to worry about then is your time. And yes, it's a little bit like speed chess, I guess, because it would be like, I roll my dice, press a button. You roll yours, press the button. But I don't think it would be every like 5 seconds. The reality is an action, picking up your, randomly selecting, picking up a token, moving that, getting your dice, rolling your dice. You're looking at a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, something like that per activation. So it's not like it would be speed chess and you'd be pressing the button all the time. You would probably have to press it maybe every couple of minutes, and even then you've got time then to wait for your opponent. So you'd personally press the button maybe every 6 minutes, something like that. If every action took activation took 3 minutes, which I'm just making these stats up, but you can see what I'm saying. It's not every minute, it's not every second, it's not speed chess. It would be chill Legion. And then the end of the round would happen. You'd pause your time. Everybody would pause the time. You'd clear it up. Just hit the mic again. I'm having a bad day when it comes to that. And you'd pause the time, clear up, pick your command cards. As soon as the command cards are done, whoever's like go it is, the other person would press the clock, and if I had the advantage, I forgot it's called, the initiative, then my time would start running down. Done. I just feel like it could work really well. I think Legion, at a very high level, could definitely do it, and I think it would work really well, as I just said. Like, I'm struggling to think of reasons not to do it, apart from cost, and it might put off beginners, but in which case I'm saying just have it at the premier events, like the really top end ones like Worlds or Nationals or whatever, that kind of stuff. Yeah, I think it would work. It's not sort of as mixed up as say X-Wing is, or maybe 40k. I don't know if 40k could do it, because it's like I do all my movement, I do shooting. I don't know, I think maybe 40k might be even better at chess clocks, but I don't know too much about it. But something like X-Wing, generally there'd be a long time where you're both thinking, and then you would have a problem where I'd roll a dice, you'd roll a dice, I'd roll a dice, I'm doing my action, you're kind of rolling your dice. So I think X-Wing would be too muddied, whereas I think Legion is just like a crisp enough rule set where it would work quite well. Now, as I said, there's quite a lot of things you could discuss with chess clocks, the pros, the cons. The cons cost, putting beginners off maybe, but I just feel like they're not, you can overcome them, and the advantages of actually getting the game finished and being able to relax in the game when it's your turn, knowing that you're only hurting yourself if you do dawdle for a little bit. I'm in favour of that. I think that's good. Because I mean, I was playing a game against Ganananan, and he was like, come on, let's speed the game up. And I was like, I'm not even going that slow. Like, do you know what I mean? I'm not even going that slow. But when we managed to get to turn 6 in that game. But when I was then thinking about my move, it was like in the back of my head, I was like, I need to do this a bit quicker. And the reality is, in the next game, I won't let anybody put me off, because I've got to play my own game, haven't I? But and it can be stressful to think that you're sort of hurting the game for both you and your opponent. I think chess clocks take that away, and in that sense, I'm very much in favour. I'm rambling now, so I'm going to go. Let me know your thoughts on chess clocks. Do you think we'll ever see it? Do you agree with me that maybe just at the premier level is where we should do it? I would never recommend it in like a store tournament with 16 players or anything like that. I feel like that might be a bit much. But maybe the official FFG ones, they could fork out for some chess clocks. And we could use them, and it would be sweet. I think personally, that's my theory. That's the way I would go with them. Let me know what you think. I'm very interested if you think chess clocks would be a good thing. I mean, if you're like relatively new person and you went to a premier event, would you be worried about chess clocks, or would you just be like, oh, that's fine? Let me know. I think I'd be happy about them. But let me know your thoughts. Have a beautiful day. As I said at the start, like the video if you like the video. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. There's Facebook, there's Discord, there's Patreon, and there's not much else in life, is there really, to be fair? Have a beautiful day, and goodbye. Bye, guys.